All right, guys. So we decided to fire up a podcast about the first impressions of Phase 4. Last week on the show, you heard some very, very early impressions, perhaps a little too soon, given that it was only sort of 2 to 3 days into the phase. But now we're 8 days in. I think it's fair to say that we can start commenting with a little bit more weight about what we've seen, what we've felt, what our thoughts are on some of the things in the phase. I've got a bit to say about some of the stuff I've done, and no doubt some of my guests will be the same way. And I'm so glad they're here because they will have done different things to me, and we'll sort of hear a variety of opinions across all the new content and the old content. So let's say hello to everyone. Grant, mate, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, mate. All love to everyone in Noted. You guys were so good to me those last 2 weeks of Phase 3, helping carry a couple of new characters of mine through Sunken Temple, and it was the hardest of carries. I did fucking no DPS, and you guys were so good just throwing some loot my way, so I really appreciate you.
Yeah, man. No, it was a blast.
And there along for the ride was Uncle Creepy as well, mate. Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Good to have you back. We've also got Vestige. How do I say it? Is it Vestige or Vestige? I think it's Vestige, right?
Vestige.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Vestige.
All right, how are you, man?
Good, good. How's it going?
Good, brother. Good. And we've got Merlin, a first-time caller in on along for the ride as well. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, Josh. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. Wait, are you an Aussie, Merlin? I couldn't hear that.
No, Canadian.
Oh, Canadian. There you go. You know what? Our fucking
even worse.
Northern Hemisphere cousins, as far as I'm concerned. So close enough. All right, guys, let's get into it. Look, I might let you take the wheel, Grant, and steer us in whatever direction you want to go to first. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to say, but let's steer away from Blackrock Mountain for now because I'll want to get a bit fiery about that later on. So let's start off with the fun stuff first. Mates, what have you and the boys been doing for Phase 4 so far, and what have you been enjoying?
So we've been working a lot on our dungeon pre-raid this, mainly the tier, zero point 0.5 set, doing that whole quest chain. I'd say that's probably been the most fun that I've had in the game in a while. I know a lot of people probably didn't like doing the quest chain. It's a little grindy at times, but it's been an absolute blast for us.
It's a great note to start on because a change came in regarding that just about 48 hours ago. I saw from Zyrene on Twitter. He announced that, I think there was a blue post as well, that now you're going to be able to buy some of these pieces to get you kickstarted on the tier 0.5 quest chain. You can buy your tier 0 pieces from a vendor starting as of like either now or next reset or whatever. And that was a really interesting thing to see come in. And, as per usual with any kind of announcement of this nature, you're going to get people come in on both sides of the argument and whether it's a good or a bad thing for the game. I actually thought it was a really interesting discussion on whether or not this is a positive or a negative for SoD. I really think that both sides could make a really good, strong argument here. So I'd love to hear you guys, all of you, weigh in on this. I as I do sometimes, I'm sort of like, I'm sitting on the fence. Either side could have me on the for or against. Grant, why don't you start? Do you think that, with this tier 0.5 quest line being so fun and engaging over the next couple of weeks or whatever while you're gearing up for raid, do you appreciate the assistance from Blizzard in obtaining that, or do you think that they should have left it as is?
I think they should have left it as it is. Just because it gets people running the dungeons. I know like you can get the tarnished currency to buy it, but I just felt like getting the RNG, I've gone through that grind and getting it. Sometimes you get a piece on the first boss. Sometimes we have people in the guild that are up to like 40 plus runs on a Skolo run to get their helm. And I think I guess it's nice because you have the shorter phase, or I guess they're trying to get MC out here in 2 weeks time, from the beginning or from the phase launch. So I guess it's nice in that way, but I personally I enjoy the grind.
And that's really been the nature of the argument, is it surrounds this concept of bad luck protection that Blizzard has become much more open to in modern gaming, in terms of, like, a lot of players do speak up and say, hey, and I've definitely seen these posts on the subreddit and the forums of whatnot of like, hey, I'm up to my 20th UBRS or whatever, and my thing hasn't dropped off the boss. This sucks. Whereas a lot of other people say, like, no, like you're saying, Grant, that's the beauty of this pre-raid gearing phase. It's really, really fun. It gets people involved. It gets people constantly running dungeons. Look, it's no different from anything else. You either, if you're in MC going after chase items, it either drops or it doesn't. You pray to the RNG lords and have your prayers answered, or you move on to the next time you do it. And again, I won't. I'll save what I want to say about it until the end. But I've got a funny feeling a bunch of you guys are going to have a bunch of stuff to say about this. So I might throw it to your guildmate, and then we'll open it up to the floor. Uncle Creepy, what do you think? Are you on board with this new change or not?
Well, so fundamentally, I'm on board with the change. I don't think it's bad. Because I do like how the emphasis right now on getting the tier 0 and getting upgraded to tier 0.5 before MC comes out. It has put a really big emphasis on running the dungeons for everybody, and I think that's good, because that's a thing that's hard for Blizzard to keep people engaged on. Continuing to run these dungeons, they get pretty stagnant pretty fast. But I think the problem I have with it is, if they were going to do this, it should have come out off the rip so everybody was on an even playing field. And if they weren't going to do it off the rip, it probably should have waited for like a month. Because the people that really went hard in the paint to get this and put a lot of time in those first couple days, they're the people who are going to be really upset by this change. And if they just had it from the get-go and everybody was on an even playing field with it, I don't think it would have been as poorly received. But the fact that they did it this way, it's going to irk a non-insignificant portion of the player base, myself included. And if they had done something where they had come out with it in a month, so people who were slower leveling or having bad luck, then they could get caught back up on it. Or even if they had it come out in a month and the items you bought were bind on account to make things a little more alt-friendly, I think people would have been pretty well receiving of that. But definitely just coming out with it after a week seems a little bit suspicious to me.
Okay, a bit suspicious. Okay. I'm going to open it up to the floor, guys. Whoever's really passionate about this, please do jump in now. I'm just going to first in, best dressed it. Guys, who feels strongly for or against this change to the gearing process?
Yeah, I think it's a great change. I love it.
All right, why do you love it, Vestige?
Well, for some of us I just hit 60 a few days ago, been running stuff like crazy, haven't gotten a single tier 0 drop, so I had a ton to spend. As a rep paladin, I didn't have really anything to buy besides my Libram, so I bought that. Didn't have anything else to spend currency on, so this was great to help me start and let me start doing the tier 1.5 quests. You can't do it till you have the gear. So it was great to finally actually start doing those quests and experience. And like they said, we only got a couple weeks till MC comes out. And I want to kind of get this done so I can be ready for MC before that gear just completely replaces this and makes it irrelevant.
Well, on that note, can I just say, first sidebar of many of the night, I've always had an odd relationship with pre-raid BIS in general, guys. Now, I appreciate that sometimes you need the gear to beat the boss, right? And you want the guildies to put the time in to get the gear to show their commitment to the cause. And then when everyone's got their consumes and their gear and they've done what they had to do, you kill the boss harder than before and you ensure that there's no dramas. Obviously, one of the pricklier parts of the conversation, though, is the amount of time that one might spend on the pre-raid gearing process. Like we're saying, some people have gone running a certain dungeon ad nauseum, not had anything drop, and they're just up shit creek and having the worst luck in the world. And then they might go to MC and get 2 or 3 things straight away and sort of invalidate the time that they spend in the pre-raid gearing process. So I guess it's an argument that revolves around, do you need the gear to kill the boss, which makes it a bit hard because we don't know right now. But how do you guys feel about Like, do you feel it's a rewarding process putting dozens of hours into pre-raid gearing just to have it go away potentially if you're that lucky guy that gets, 3 or 4 things on the first or 1 or 2 MCs, and you'd be like, oh my God, I got so much more power in 3 hours than I did in the last 30. Like, do you look back at the pre-raid gearing process as fun and worth it, or sometimes a bit of a waste?
I think it's
I
quite a
mean-
bit more fun.
I think it
Yeah,
depends.
I've always found pretty much undisputedly every time I level a new character that the pre-raid BIS or pre-raid gearing process of any new character it's always like the most enjoyable part of any character I've ever had.
All right. Merlin, sorry.
Um,
Sorry, 1 second. Mandalore gets you in a sec. Merlin, did you have something more to say, or was that it?
No, I think the amount of content and the variety of content required for the pre-raid gearing is what makes it enjoyable. Not beating your head against the same raid for 5 to 6 weeks to get BIS versus going out to like 12 different dungeons or however many there actually are, having unique encounters, unique groups, because you pug a lot of them. Like every interaction in those dungeons is unique and fun for the most part. That's what makes that gearing process to me worthwhile and better than just sort of waiting it out and hitting the slot machine in raid.
Mandalore, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think it's been covered a bit already, but the time versus reward, like a lot of people are putting the time into it, depending on what you're chasing as well. Like now we've got access to it. Sweet, if you get really bad RNG, so be it. There is that sort of backup, but myself, I've been running dungeons helping guildies out as a tank, but I'm pushing rank 10 at the moment because the rank 10 set is usable enough to tank with in MC. So I'm using my reels to go towards the flask recipes and stuff while helping guildies out instead of. So, and if I get a slot that I'm missing in a week or so, so be it. I'll just pick that up. I don't feel like I'm handicapped in any way.
All right. Leroy, mate, I'll bring you into the mix. Thanks so much for joining. I'll pull us back on point to this change with the gear. And again, it's a relatively unique situation because, the pre-raid gearing phase at this level 60 juncture is relatively short time-wise. Like MC comes out next week, people will start looking towards MC gear as opposed to the dungeon gear, but the dungeon gear always helps. But are you for or against this change that they brought in?
Hey Josh, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Right on. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said earlier that it's kind of silly where the raids are, you know what I mean? Like the pre-bis is just for the raids and the raids are coming out soon, but I think that ultimately just depends on like the loot drops of the raids, which we're still kind of unsure about. So it's really hard to say, it's just totally unclear if the loot drops are going to be so much that it doesn't even matter if you farmed a pre-grade bis or not, or it could be so scarce that it's like, holy cow, back to pre-grade bis gear farming, So I think it's just too soon to tell if it's good or bad, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Don't get me wrong. I'm not poo-pooing the total concept of pre-raid bis gear. I think it's a lot of fun going out and getting this shit. And obviously you need to put in some time to show your guild that you are serious about doing the raid and everything. I've just
for sure. That's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
That's
I've
what I
just
view about it is
go
the whole
Vestige.
process of saying that. Yeah, that it's just like it's a team game. It's a raid with everybody into it. And for me doing my part, gearing up and doing my thing from week to week, that's showing that my commitment to making us better and trying to get more done that week. So it's just to me more of a not an individual statement, but more of a group statement when you're like, okay, I'm going to try to get this next set of gear pre-bis or whatever I'm trying to get for next week.
I'll give you the best analogy of all time. I hope you guys are ready for this. I'm rather proud of this one. Grant, I'm going to start you off with you rate my analogy here. It's really like having a party or having a barbecue, right? And you invite all your friends over And there's this kind of unspoken social contract of, maybe you bring something, right? So you've got your buddy Jack who brings fucking a case of beer, awesome, maybe imported. You got your buddy Sarah brings some fucking steaks. You go, cool, thank you so much. I'll slap them on the barbie. And, you don't want to be that guy that turns up with the pockets turned out going, well, shit, man, figured everyone else would bring something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, that's a good analogy. And I think, if you're going for full pre-raid BIS, and you're trying to bring that to your guild, it's most likely you're probably in a more serious, hardcore progression-oriented guild. That's typically what I've seen is people who are going for that and trying to get full pre-raid BIS. Like every single person in the progression team is pushing for a good rank. But if you're the majority of players, I'd say like 90% probably really don't care too much about progression rank and just want to down the content, then pre-raid BIS is just a nice to have, like getting the full bit of it too. It depends on how you want to play the game.
And in a statement that will surprise no one, I've just never been that guy that's been infatuated with pre-raid BIS though, to the point that I must get every slot covered off at some point in time. I've always been like, if I get 2/3 of it, fine. And I really don't mind turning up to raid with a couple of shitty pieces that people can laugh at, because I don't care, because they're going to get replaced by the raid and we're still going to kill the boss. Now, that's offensive to some guilds. I get that. But I've just, that's been my relationship with pre-raid gearing. And I know a lot of players that will throw 30, 40 hours into chasing that one final piece. I must have full pre-raid BIS or else I'm I'm useless. I just don't get that. And to go back to the analogy, it's like, hey man, I fucking drove around town to 6 different liquor stores. It took me 3 hours. I went through a whole tank of gas to get this very special, rare limited edition beer. Can't get it anywhere else. Here it is. And you rock up and you plonk it down the table and the host is like, oh, I mean, I appreciate that, but you really could have just brought us a case of Bud and we would have been just as happy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's a good analogy. I like that.
I'm all over it. I'm on fire today, Mandalore.
No, I was just thinking the changes with the tier set with Molten Core as well. Like, we only need 6 pieces now, so there is relevance of pushing through, doing the quest chain for the dungeon set, and having like the Head and Shoulders or something to gain access to that set bonus. So they have made that relevant, which I think, saying it is locked behind someone becoming friendly with Serenian Circle, that's a bit of a bitch in its own right.
Is anyone here, just before we move on to the next topic, is anyone here particularly really forcefully against this change? I know that Arcos was not happy. If he was here, he'd be somewhat seething that, again, the old, what are we doing? Are we just handing shit out to people for the participation award trophy? Again, having everyone standing around the mailbox wearing the same gear, blah, blah, blah. Again, I think this being a relatively small moment in time with the tier 0.5 thing slightly changes the complexion of that argument, but I do understand where he's coming from. Does anyone get really bent out of shape about this or not really?
I'm not bent out of shape out of it. I mean, I disagree with it, but I mean, it's a seasonal game, right? It's not like we have months of sitting here in pre-raid BIS and trying to build up to it. We only have 2 weeks, so.
Okay.
Tier 0's trash at the end of the day as well. Like,
hey! Have you seen how good my hunter looks in tier 0? The aesthetics.
No. Okay, no worries there. Like, I'm loving my Black and Warlock. But it's the actual stats. It's not until the person puts the effort into doing the quest chain to upgrade it to 0.5 that it really comes online. So I can see both sides of the coin.
I agree. I'm loving that I'm in fashion
BIS.
BIS.
Longer thing. I could totally see we should have done it, but it's seasonal. We only got so much time. We got to get going. So let people experience it. Let people have fun and just move on.
Definitely feels more alt friendly.
Fair enough.
Yeah, totally.
All right, guys, let's move on to the next topic. And, while we're talking about items, I want to ask the room, now that you guys have spent more time with the items that you can buy with the new Real currency, how do you feel about that new currency and it being worth it, value? Like, obviously we said it's worth it because now you can buy your tier 0 to convert that into tier 0.5. But outside of the tier 0 stuff, have you found a positive relationship with collecting your reals? Are you happy with what you can get? I haven't even seen the full sort of loot table, if you will, yet, so I don't really know what I can and can't buy and what I really want. But do you guys think they did a good or a bad job with making that stuff worth it?
I think that's they did a reasonable job with it. I didn't particularly like a lot of things about Wrath, but when they started introducing the new dungeon currencies every phase and making the dungeons relevant again, so people were out there running them, trying to grind out whatever they needed, it does add a degree of engagement to the game that typically, when people get into raid log mode, the game lacks. So from that aspect, I do like it, and if they continue to keep it relevant throughout the course of the level 60 content, I think that's ultimately a good thing for the game.
Learning from the wild offerings and to what they've done now with each boss dropping one once per day, it's created a lot more people running content. So if you've got someone who's like 56, 57, he's trying to get some quests done, but fuck going into Dime or West or something like that, you're going to have people running it because they want to go in there for the reals. Gaining access to, well, if I can look at some of the pieces they got, the Rogue Ring is massive. Like every single rogue in the world's going to want that for their extra 10 energy. The Caster Ring that has a chance to freeze people is fucking hilarious. It's meant to be a 2% proc, but I've seen it go off fucking so much.
Like a machine gun. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like a friend of mine messaged me. He's like, "What the fuck is frost overing me? Like I'm going up against a boomy in the middle of fucking Syrian Gorge, and I can't fucking figure it out." And so I told him about the ring because obviously being a rogue, he can't see that on the vendor. So he's like, "Oh, okay." So, but I haven't even gotten range of him yet. So yeah, no, it's not like freezing band. It can fucking go off and just fucking drop you. He's like, "Cool, right, something else to fucking play against." All right, no worries, crack on.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Any other key items that you guys are staring down that you've either bought or you're saving up for?
Josh, have
I
you
reckon they
seen
fixed the wedding band.
Hang on, go Merlin.
Yeah,
Which one?
the Hand of Injustice? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I saw the Hand of Injustice for the ranged players. Obviously, Zyrene was explaining on Twitter the goblins in the code, if you will, or the complications with trying to design that to work for ranged attacks and getting one free ranged attack proc off of a ranged attack, which was problematic and a bit of a workaround, but he got it happening, which is good. Do you like that one, Merlin?
Yeah, I just instantly thought of your new hunter and whether you're gonna switch to ranged or keep melee.
No, I'm being weird. I got asked about this on stream earlier, and people were kind of sort of scratching their heads, going like, "Josh, you're PvPing and you're not playing ranged hunter. What are you doing? You're kind of doing it wrong." Because I'm very aware that ranged hunter is just annihilating everything in its fucking sight right now, whether it's PvP or PvE. I've not played with it yet. I'm just infatuated with the new game mode of Melee Hunter, and it's clearly not as strong in PvP, but it's fucking twice as fun, I'll tell you that much. So maybe one day I'll get to the ranged playstyle and grab that Hand of Injustice. That'd be a bit of fun. I mean, it's not like I don't use ranged attacks in fucking Melee. With my Melee Hunter, I still pop off a few shots each fight, which is good fun. So yeah, maybe one day. Anything else that on the item table there that you guys thought was cool?
I thought the shaman weapon, or I guess it's an axe, but I'm using on my shaman, the attitude adjusters is pretty cool.
Yeah, I got told about that yesterday, Grant. I had a funny one where people have been saying they've been seeing this a bit recently, and I'm not sure if it's confirmation bias or not, but I ran the UBRS 2 days ago and had both Dal Rens drop in the same run, and I was fortunate enough to win them both. I'll actually get you guys to play jury for me here. Are you ready? We're going to have the judgment of Josh Corbett. I need to know whether I was morally in the right or not here. I asked my stream this earlier. So here's what happened. You guys will probably be familiar with a situation similar to this. We go in, it's a guild run. It's my new guild. And a warrior's like, when we get to Rend, he's like, "Hey man, guys, I've got the offhand. Sorry, I've got the main hand. If the offhand drops, can I please have it to complete the set?" And I go, yep, no dramas. Everyone goes, yep, cool, no dramas. So then, of course, what happens? Both swords drop, right? So he goes like, obviously, Josh, Hunter, you can take the main hands. And I go, cool. But like, I hate being this jerk and I do feel like a jerk, but now we're both literally in the same boat. Am I not able to roll on this offhand now? And he sort of didn't say anything. It was a little bit awkward. The rest of the group was like, hey man, if you need it, roll away. And I was like, I feel a bit bad, but I'm doing this. And of course I won both. Would you guys, what's the thumbs up or thumbs down on this one? And be savage, just because it's fucking me. I don't want to get like a, good deal here. Tell me.
Oh, you're the asshole.
Am I the asshole?
Thumbs down, man. Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Yeah, fair enough.
I think you should have passed that to him, because I mean, if he was asking for it, I mean, here I had one piece at the beginning, he should have got the set, and then you got the main hand. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. What if he got the sword like yesterday? You know what I mean?
I think it still stands.
All right. I'm happy. I'm happy to be declared the arsehole here. Go creepy.
I'll diverge for you. I'll say if I'm the warrior, you're a huge asshole. But if I'm not the warrior, no, homie, get that bread.
Where's Dow's stack in like comparison to everything else that's available currently? Like, is it still high up there?
Well, so here's the thing. Here's the reason.
If it's not, then
no. So here's the reason I brought this story up is someone else in the raid was like, he's a warrior. He doesn't care as much about DAOs anymore because of this new attitude adjuster that they can buy 2 of from the vendor now. So that's why I kind of did it. That's why I did it, because they were like, DAOs isn't your granddaddy's DAOs anymore. There's other shit. But
I mean,
it's a moral thing. Yeah, Grant, call me a cunt.
No, I was gonna say, I mean,
fucking go for gold.
Yeah. If it was a pug, like who cares? Like, you could definitely need both. But, I mean, I guess back in Classic, the dual wielding the Dalrens as a warrior was pretty big. But you're right, with the attitude adjuster now, like, I mean, it's not unique, so you can definitely dual wield that, and it gives you hits and attack power. I don't know. I mean, was it an orc? I guess is my other question.
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Then that's like. I mean, he should go get those, to be honest with you. I mean, the Dalrens, I played Alliance in Classic, so it was big for humans, you know.
It's one extra side note on it there was a little bit of like, and it's so bad. Everyone can call me a bad guildie and a piece of shit from this story. I don't really mind. It's like, I don't know. I was just kind of like, whatever. I'm never going to get this Dalren set. I'm just jumping on the opportunity I've got. But like, people are still getting used to the concept of Melee Hunter, quite frankly. And like, I got a bunch of shit from someone in a UBRS run 2 days prior to this happening. I lost a roll on a Dalren's 48 hours earlier, and the raid was like, oh, fucking hunters going for Dalrens. And I'm like, mate, number one, I'm a Melee Hunter. Number two, look at your fucking like DPS meters, because I'm up there pumping. Like, I don't want to hear this. I don't deserve like fucking melee weapons over a warrior now. So there was a slight tinge of like respect the Melee Hunter dream now, but no, now I feel really bad. Thanks, guys. Oh dear, that's all right. Life goes on. But yeah, attitude adjuster. Go get it, warriors. It's very good. Guys, anything else on these items, or are we ready to move on?
I wish they had a fire resistance.
Who was that? Was going to jump in? Go for it. Someone was going to jump in. Is that you, Leroy, or Merlin? Merlin, go.
Yeah, I want to say that the just the effects and some of the cool, like, I think there's like a pair of boots that allow like water walking and some other cool stuff that's just like out there now for itemization, is really taking that classic back. It's less retail-y, it feels. Just having those unique interactions more.
Fair enough.
I'm hoping that I haven't heard anything about the wedding ring, but it was bugged previously. But the concept of transferring threat from one of the persons in your party, I think is brilliant. Nice little interaction there.
Yeah, they've done really well with the new items in general. I think the flavorful items and just itemization in general has been really good. Like, we gave the guys obviously on the team a lot of flack in previous phases for the itemization issues, and talking about how Sunken Temple gear was a bit whack at the start. You know, when we got all the BFD gear, we were wondering where the fuck we were going with power creep and all that shit. But I don't know. I mean, obviously we haven't seen the raid yet, but in terms of that fear of power creep and what we'd look like when we're hitting things at 60, is everyone pretty happy with how the numbers have turned out with this gear we're getting now?
Like damage numbers?
Yeah, like, do you feel like we're too powerful, or like, you know, these items are shit and not worth it? Like, I think like they're in a pretty good spot.
No, I think it's good, but I mean, we're definitely compared to like 60s back in Classic, a lot more powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Better.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, we're doing like 1400 DPS now, aren't we? Back compared to 300-400.
Yeah, I think we're doing TBC numbers now, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell that they did some scaling. I know originally, like when Phase 1 came out, they had done some scaling to make things more in line with the new abilities and all that. And I'm not sure. I think it might just be like a percentile scaling that they've kind of maintained, because when I really noticed it in the leveling process when we all got to LBRS, and we were going in there with a bunch of 55s and just absolutely mopping it up. And I was thinking to myself, back in the day, a group of all 55s would have actually struggled with this, and we're like AoE pulling it. So, there's obviously a lot of power creep, and I think as we've progressed, they probably should have turned the general open world scaling dial that they had up a little bit, but they've done a pretty good job, but you can definitely feel it.
I disagree. I think the open world is... I mean, to be fair, I've had more time with it. I bitched about it on Scotty J's podcast the other day, saying they've overtuned the open world. Having spent a bit more time with it, like, it's probably okay once you get to the higher levels, but like, I don't think it needs to be turned up anymore. But in saying that, like, obviously you're right. We are now sitting here 10-man, well, not 10-manning, but maybe more like 15-manning world bosses or whatever. Some people might be 10-manning it. I don't know. But I'm okay with the insane power that we've got now. Like, the mobs hit really hard. We were still, my scrub little group the other day was still fucking wiping in UBRS. You know what I mean? They hit really hard if you fuck it up. And I don't know, I'm okay with world bosses having a group of 20 taking them down. Have you guys had... World bosses came out yesterday. Any stories from your first interaction with them? Like, Azuragos is long and a bit boring in my mind, but whatever. Kazakh is fun. He drops quickly. I don't know, it's all a bit of fun. I missed out on one item by fucking rolled a 68 versus a 69 or something and was spewing, but how have you guys gone with the world bosses?
I like how they brought the other demons in and Kazakh to be able to spawn him. Everyone rushed across to where Kazakh was. It's like, fuck, he's not here. Okay, now what? All right, no worries. I can start running around, find these big demons, knock them on the head. Oh, cool. They spawn now.
We thought it was rather easy. We sent like 3 raids of 11 to 12 people, and we downed all of them.
Did it bother you at
easily.
all or not? Like, I had no dramas with it.
With how easy it was?
Yeah.
No, I was fine with it. We were sort of expecting it to be harder, so we had like a backup plan of combining like one of the raids and divvying it up to the other 2 raids to make like 2 20-mans. But we were pretty shocked. I mean, we actually, like, I don't know, Welcome, we watched their stream. Jordy was streaming it, and they did a 10-man with no world buffs at all. They didn't even pop world buffs, and downed two different raids, down both of them one shots. It was pretty it's pretty intensive if you're on the healing side in Kazakh, though, because he enrages after 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the shadow bolts just start coming out left and right, so your healer has to be basically carrying the raid there.
The only thing I'll say is, like, obviously you'll never really have to worry about this, Grant, but like, there will be a big pug scene for these world bosses. I've already saw chat yesterday just going ballistic with people trying to sort of just pick up people left, right, and center and get these things down. With the amount of loot that drops off of these bosses and the amount of like really like not semi, but like class specific things, like just keep an eye on shenanigans, because we, like, our guild combined with another guild's group for a group of like 21, 22, and I won the mature blue dragon sinew, and like a priest from the other guild rolled on it or something, like, and there was a bunch of classes from the other guilds like rolling on shit that they shouldn't be rolling on, like hunters rolling on the Eye of Shadow and shit like that over our priest or something. Like, just be wary of shenanigans in pugs. There's gonna be drama everywhere. I kind of look forward to the drama, to be honest with you. But yeah, are you guys happy that it's like, it seems very puggable, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think making it an instance definitely helps with that. I agree with Blizzard on that one for sure. That was definitely the move.
Oh,
Because now
100%.
instead of having an organized guild and competing with the whole realm, it's, you know, hey, let me just find 20 or whatever people and let's run it right quick.
Yeah, I must say, Mandalore, like, I haven't seen them. Maybe they're out there. Who's the guy? Like, introduce me to the guy going, nah, horrible change. World bosses should absolutely be kept as is, on lockdown for the same 40 people every week.
Yeah, 2019, I think the guild I was running with at the time, we got the first 8 or 9 kills on the Zergos, and it was weird last night going in and doing it. Hit like 60%, and I'm looking around. I'm you know, it's in your fucking head. You're like, all right, someone's gonna fucking try and roll in and fucking wipe us. This PTSD or whatever it is, I don't know. But yeah, no, it's comfortable. Like you said, just fucking roll in with a small amount of numbers. If it was open world, the state of Shadow Strike, with the amount of fucking alliance, I probably wouldn't even attempt it, to be quite honest. Like, the mountain is cancer at the moment. I'm glad the fucking changes that they brought in there.
Yeah.
Attempting world bosses, Jesus Christ, yeah.
The mountain is still horrible in my mind, but we'll get into that. Even despite the changes, we'll get into that later, and I'll tell you why. Guys, outside of the world bosses, which are fun, everyone should go and do them. I want to talk a little bit about the other new little thing that we've gotten with PvE content, which is our new dungeon. And I was sort of saying the other, like, almost being a bit sad on the Discord just yesterday or the day before, saying like, nobody's talking about the new dungeon. We got a fucking new dungeon. Nobody's saying boo about it. I get that there's an attunement process, and that's probably why. 3/4 of the cunts out there probably haven't even gotten attuned and I haven't done it yet, so I completely understand if other people are in the same boat. Tell me, has anyone run this dungeon, and is it as fun as everyone's saying?
Yeah, I've done it.
What were your
Very
thoughts?
enjoyable.
Give it. Let's go through the review process.
Yeah, so it's much more difficult than a standard dungeon, but it still has like a bunch of kind of like mini raid bosses almost. They all have a few things they do. There is some little bit of nasty trash if you're not prepared, but it's more healing intensive than anything else. But it's fun, and the attunement quest is super easy.
Oh,
Just
it's
go
so
get
easy.
A few things
Yeah.
in winter, spring, or whatever. Turn it in. Takes like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's not
yeah.
arduous. Mandalore, give us your review, mate.
I very enjoyable, love it. Quite more interactive, I guess is the word, rather than just be gather everything and fucking AO it down like we've been used to in Classic now with SoD. You've got to do mechanics. If you ignore the mechanics, you're gonna fucking die.
Yeah.
You want. I find group composition is a lot more important. You need people who can interrupt. It's necessary. If you don't, you're going to have a very, very rough time.
What are we
And I think
talking,
we'll
like
touch on that,
TBC
yeah.
heroic level, or what are we thinking here?
Shit will wipe you if you don't fucking interrupt it.
Yeah, so what do you feel like? What do you feel like you're playing? You feel like you're playing like a TBC heroic, or something else, like a Wrath heroic, or what?
Yeah, no, I'd rate it up there with them, definitely.
Okay.
And it's fresh, it's new. The drops are awesome. Like every time something drops, oh fuck yeah! You got 2 free people out of the 5 are rolling on it. So, oh, that's awesome. Like, and there's trinkets in there that are unique. Like, there's lots of different resistances. There's a frost one that gives you it's a stopwatch pretty much. I love the miniature fire extinguisher on use. It removes fire effects that are on you. Fucking using it in AV, it's great because you got a fire mage opens with fucking living bomb and tries to load you up. You just fucking click the trinket and removes everything. I'm
Oh.
like, come on then.
Happy
crack on.
days. That's cool.
I can definitely see the uses come MC, depending on what this new boss brings as well. Like, you're not going in for one or two pieces. Like, you're actually going to go in, collect half a dozen, and swap them in and out.
Yeah.
Some of the trinkets for I think the warrior ones absolutely cooked the vial. So on use, was it 80 or 90 strength or something for 15 seconds?
Oh, gross.
There's a massive one for hunters and shamans that does very similar, but for nature damage.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, like there's replay value.
I'll have to get my ass there ASAP. Mate, just on the aesthetics though, like, does it look like is it fun and cool to look at? Does it look like they've built a little ecosystem here, or is it, I was worried. Well, not worried. That's unfair to say. Like, private servers attempt this, and it, sometimes it just looks like a dungeon that was literally just slapped together with very little thought, and just like, here's a few mobs in an area, fucking whatever. It's a new dungeon. Go enjoy yourselves, dickheads. But is this one being crafted well, or what's the story?
I think so. There's at one point you got to branch off. You go left or right. You learn after the first time through that you got to go left first. But the first time through felt fresh. Like you're exploring. There's so much history there with Hellscream as well. Like you're starting to roll through. Some things start making sense, and filling out that demon lore. It's cool. Yeah, no, I rate it. I'd happily go there every day.
All right. Anyone else on the new dungeon? I mean, Mandalore's confirmed what I'd heard, that the items are fucking great and it's well worth your time investment to get your ass there. Anyone else on this one who's done
it? Have you watched anything on it, Josh?
I haven't seen 1 second of it. I have no idea what I'm walking into to expect.
Do it blind. It's worth it. That's what I tried to do. I went and ran it today for the first time, and just like not knowing anything, not knowing what to expect. Yeah, I'm glad I did it that way.
Yeah. All I know is the mobs hit hard, do the mechanics, and there's great gear. And now I know to turn left first. That's all I know.
Definitely,
it's definitely a dungeon you gotta turn your brain on.
Yeah, turn the brain on. Fair enough. Sorry, what'd you say, Mandalore?
Do it with a group of friends. Don't pug it. Like you're gonna have a laugh while you're doing it. Making calls, like how you do in heroics. Like shit. Okay, interrupt. Yep. Sweet nose. Oh fuck, I've missed that. Someone else got it. Like that sort of shit is.
Yeah.
You have a bad pug, you're gonna have a really bad time. Like you might not even get past the first couple of bosses.
Oh, there you go. Well, look, having just to wind up on this one, Mandalore, having done it now. I mean, we obviously don't know like how much development time went into this dungeon, but is it the kind of thing where you'd like to see more dungeons like this in future phases before SoD winds up?
If this is what we've got to look at for like the Kara raid potential that's coming, we're in a good place.
Yeah,
well,
agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I presume again, he's sitting here in the audience having a listen, and I'll say something nice now before I say something a bit more aggressive later on. But Tim we keep saying on the podcast over the months, Tim has been knocking it out of the park with a lot of these design encounters. He's been doing a lot of the work on the new raids, the level up raids that we've been getting. So I don't know that Tim did this new dungeon. I don't want to give credit where I don't know where the credit should be sort of attributed to, but I would guess that Tim had a hand in this new dungeon. So if he's fucking hit another home run, good on him. But I'm glad to hear that you guys are having fun. So that's great to hear. Guys, let's move on to I'll tell you what. Before I think of the next thing, is there anything that you guys are busting to talk about that we haven't talked about yet in terms of your first week in Phase 4? No?
AV.
Yeah, AV. Oh, great one. No, yes. All right, kick it off.
No, I think AV. It's sort of a joke right now. I mean, like if you have a coordinated group, you can run in with half the raid straight to the boss and kill it without even doing any of the towers. Or
even uncoordinated groups are doing it.
Even uncoordinated, yeah. It's 5 minute AV. It's not even fun. I've been doing it just because I need honor, but it's like a unnecessary grind. I sort of I don't know if you guys remember Wrath, but in Wrath, you had to go and you had to wait till all 4 towers are down before you could pull the boss and kill it.
Yeah.
That was at the beginning of Wrath, at least, when you didn't have the gear to tank it or DPS it. So I think a change needs to happen for AV to make it a little bit, more longer.
I
guess you could say.
agree,
Like,
and I know they buffed the health pools of some of the mobs in there, but I agree that AV needs to have something drastic done to it. I'll just Vestige before I throw it to you. I'll just say I had jumped into AV for the first time last night. I did 4 back to back, and my experience was exactly that, Grant. I just it was a 3 to 5 minute wait in the queue. Just sat there in Orgrimmar, wait for the queue to pop, get straight into the AV, and every time, because I'm a fucking idiot, the same thing happened. Mount up, run to attempt to run to the last boss, get picked off at the bridge by whatever alliance were hanging around there, die, get sent all the way back to the other end of the map. And by the time I've mounted up and started running 60 seconds back towards the boss, it goes, game's over, Horde wins. And I take my 2500 honor, having done, literally not having used one global. And it's over in 4 to 5 minutes. And I did that 4 times in a row. We won 3, we lost 1. And that was my AV experience. And I kind of term it as non-content in a weird way.
I had a turtle earlier this morning, and we got the Ice Lord summoned. We had the riders up in the air, and then we had 3 guys collecting wolves because we already had handed in all the pelts needed for the Bloody Wolf Riders.
That's how it should be.
The turtles are the most fun, actually.
Yeah.
Leroy, you're saying there in chat that of all the things to have happened in SoD, one of the oddest to you is that they didn't do anything with any BGs.
Yeah, it's just to kind of Grantor's point of they needed to do something with AV. It's when you kind of think about it, they really haven't touched AV, AB, or Warsong Gulch at all in any aspect. And I don't know, just of all the changes, I just kind of now realized and noticed that they actually haven't really touched Battlegrounds. They've touched Honor and all that stuff, but they haven't tweaked or edited or done anything with that.
Well, a lot of people would say, AB and Warsong are fine, don't touch them, blah, blah, blah. I've been on the show before saying I do wish that they'd block off a few more of the jumps in Warsong, but I realize that a lot of you guys disagree with that, and I'm in the minority on that one, and I'm the weirdo for suggesting that, so whatever. But
I'm with you, Josh, on that.
There you go.
That's the one fixes I would totally approve, is that all those magic jumps, and if you jump the right way, you can avoid these wall or something like that.
But Vestige rewards skill, and those guys have learned the jumps, and they should be rewarded for playing the game more.
Yeah, it's just this was their chance to kind of tweak those things, especially in Phase 1 when Warsong Gulch was all that you kind of were doing, It's just, again, I don't know, maybe they ran out of time, developers, whatever have you, but
well, I was going to say
just kind of a missed opportunity or something they could have done.
I was going to say, Leroy, that AV is definitely the one that the community, despite what people think about Warsong or AB, as I walk away tapping my sign that a wall should be a wall, AV is the one that everyone comes together and says, yeah, this something's got to change here. This is an odd battleground.
For sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, when there's no PvP in a PvP battleground, you probably have a problem.
Yeah, and it's been like that for years now.
But maybe that's a microcosm of just PvP as a whole in SoD.
Mate, I had it's definitely it is a weird. I mean, we could spend a 10-hour podcast breaking down people's psyches.
I think we've already kind of talked. I've listened to the podcast. I think you've said everything about PvP.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to go there again now. But just
for sure,
I had.
It's just I'm saying maybe that's a side effect of it.
Yeah. I had just literally an hour ago before I fired up this podcast. I was in Black Rock Mountain, just to give you another funny example of people's attitudes toward PvP. I was in Black Rock Mountain doing PvP live on stream, and everyone's sort of enjoying watching me have a go at people. I'm winning some, I'm losing some, just having fun doing one-on-ones. And the Black Rock Mountain event starts, and all the mobs start spawning, and it becomes a bit harder, and I'm still outside trying to pick off people one-on-one. And this guy on the Horde whispers me and goes, I'm paraphrasing, but he goes, "What the fuck are you doing? They're not worth any honor. Why aren't you inside the mountain?" And I wrote back to him and said, "Because I'm out here because I don't give a fuck about honor and I enjoy PvP. Is that a fucking problem?" and he didn't reply to me. But like, it is just like people are baffled when they see people PvPing for no reward or no reason, just for the love of the game. But yeah,
But that's
I had
classic right there, I think.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience in AV where we lost like 6 or 7 in a row, and I was just like, hey guys, instead of us trying to race them, let's just like fight them. Let's like just straight on run into them and see what the hell happens. And everybody, about 5 people, were like, no, screw this. I don't got time for that. Not efficient. We can lose and get more honor and marks that way. This is stupid. I was like, what the hell is going on?
yeah, it's always a weird one, and you know, another analogy that I come back to, and again, we won't dive into this, but like, it's the old, you know, being 2-0 down in Warsong and have everyone say just lose. Like my thing on that has been it depends. It depends on how you got to 2-0. Like, are you getting stomped by a pre-made? Then yeah, okay, give up, whatever. Has the other team absolutely outclassed you in every way, shape, and form, and there's no fucking, like, 0% chance that you're going to win? Yeah, okay, give up, whatever. But like, I've been in hard-fought Warsong games where they barely got to 2-0 and it was super close and everyone's like, just give up. And I'm like, but then, like, I've had some really fun comebacks in Warsong where you do come back from 2-0 and win. And sometimes I'm just like, you know, sometimes I'm here for the love of the sport and not the honor grind. But, you know, it's a different perspective sometimes. But, guys, let's without getting me fucking fired up and ranting about the problematic relationship that WoW players have with PvP in the modern era, what else can we discuss? So back to AV. What do we need, Grant? Do we need bombs? Or do we need mines? What are we doing?
I think you just need to buff like Van, for example, if you're playing Horde or whatever Drek for Alliance. If you're gonna go in there, he needs to be like buffed where you can't kill him with 4 generals or whatever it is up. Or I saw someone else put in chat, they said maybe, you know, putting an immunity up so he's like immune until like 2 towers go down.
Or he literally doesn't spawn until something happens. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I want the generals to punch people into the next battleground if they try to get them with too many generals up, with too many war masters up.
I think if they just buffed it, like significantly buffed it, to the point that, you know, you can't, like, it's literally impossible for a 40-man raid to go in there and just kill 4 generals up, and then, you know, each time a tower drops, you like remove 25% of that buff, and then it eventually goes down to, you know, where maybe 10 or 20 people need to be in there to kill him. That would probably be a good fix.
Wouldn't AV, here's just me again shooting from the hip, being a fucking MMO scrub that you guys can tell me what's right or wrong with this suggestion. Wouldn't AV be the place where you implement something like the Ashenvale event mechanic, where like we need to see X amount of opposite faction deaths before you get to go for the last boss? You know what I mean?
That could work too.
Yeah. I would love that.
Or yeah, you get so many kills and you spawn Ivis or the Glacier guy or whatever, and you do so many kills and the wolves spawn, and you know, or you do just like little stuff like that we can still make it faster so it's not super grindy and we have to turn in so many things, but you can still change mechanics. You know, or when we first ride it out, you have your riders with you. I mean, they can play with AV so many different ways because of the way it is, versus Warsong Gulch and AB, it's kind of, you know, the way it is. There's not much you can really do there. AV, you can kind of mess with that so many different ways for fun and SoD. Say, hey, let's just try this and see what happens.
I would love to see a like counter where it's like 200 Alliance must fall before you can go and attempt the last boss or whatever. That'd be fun. But anyway, anyone else with any suggestions as to what they'd like to see in AV before we move on?
Have we got any retail players here? Like, what's the current state of AV in retail? 'Cause I know there's, you start with 2,000 resources, and you can get more resources by capping the mine. So there's like, sort of, I guess, creates that, okay, if I kill them, then we can actually win that way as well as defeating the boss.
I do not dabble in retail, sir, so I can't say anything.
Yeah.
I think it came out in Wrath or something, right? With the counter with so many resources to prevent turtles.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
It's been a very long time since I played it, so I was just wondering what
they've done a ton of changes to AV over the years. There's a ton of different versions of it.
All right. Guys, we'll push on, but yeah, definitely AV. It's not particularly fun. It feels like a brain dead mandatory grind that you do that doesn't involve PvP, which ironically gives PvP rewards. I do hope something gets done with that, but we might be a bit late for it. Who knows? Guys, what is next? Let me think. Does anyone? I'm just trying to think. Is there anything we can say about Molten Core, having not seen it yet? Obviously we've gotten this Blackrock Mountain event, the PvE side of things, where you can upgrade gear, I believe, to get your fire resistance and stuff. Are you guys out there building your fire resistance sets in the expectation that, they will be absolutely mandatory for these higher heat levels and you better go out and get all this shit? A lot of people are out there doing their T0.5 pre-raid grind. Grant, you guys are pretty high octane in Noted. I would imagine there's been a separate drive to be like, fucking get that fire res gear because we want to take on the hardest content and we're going to need it.
Yep, 100%. I literally just bought the Devil Core leggings from Alliance side on the neutral auction. I was like 2 minutes ago. So I'm trying to get up to 315 because I'm like the main tank. But yeah, we're going to need full fire resistance. I think level 3 is probably, I'm expecting it to be hard, probably not as hard as like the Iranicus pre-nerf content in ST. I think Blizzard said they weren't going to make content that hard again, but we do think like fire resistance and having, some type of either a cap or close to cap is going to be a requirement to down level 3 content. That's our assumption.
Anyone else working on fire res, old school style, and enjoying it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as Grant where we're going hard on it and trying to get that, just because if you're going to push prog ranks where the heat level is kind of an unknown, you got to have it if you want to push those rankings, because, for all we know, Blizzard just implemented a thing where every boss has a fireball mechanic, and if everybody in the raid doesn't have at least 200 fire resistance for it, you're just not going to get through it.
Grant, can I throw it back to you? And if I can ask politely to get you to fire up a conversation here while I run to the fridge and get my first beer of the day at 11:20 in the morning. Mate, while Tim's listening in, he can have a laugh listening to you say this. What kind of challenge are you expecting in these higher heat levels in Molten Core?
Well, that's a good question. I think like it's going to be fire damage. I think there's a new boss in MC. I'm expecting probably some type of new mechanics with each boss that existed. I don't think they'll change any of the previous mechanics, but maybe add in a new mechanic, or I could be completely wrong with it. But I think there could be something to do with stacks of fire. I know that fire extinguisher was added in to remove magical buffs. I'm assuming that might be something that's going to have to be utilized.
Well, I would assume that switching it from 40 to 20 man, you would almost have to change some of the mechanics with that, anyways, right?
Yeah, no, I think so too.
So you can already, based on that alone, know that like, okay, yeah, we're rolling in with, it may be similar but different mechanics in some ways.
Yeah, I hope they kept the bomb in though, the Baron bomb. That's like a legendary mechanic. But I do hope there is some new mechanics. I don't think they should change it like completely. I don't know. I think just one new mechanic for a boss would be great. But
I'm gonna laugh at the first wipe when fucking someone uses the extinguisher to remove Baron's bomb and just fucking wipes everyone.
Yes, that'll be hilarious.
And then there go the world buffs.
Yep. It's like, fuck, yep, quick, nope, shit.
We had this discussion, back in Sunken Temple, Grant, but we'll do it again for funsies just for a little bit here. With Noted, and again, I'll just remind everyone, look, Noted is they're a guild that pushes, they go pretty hard. With Noted, are you hoping for progression? Are you granted, we know that BWL is probably not that far off as well, so we have this conversation about seasonal servers. How long is this all going to last? How much longer do we have with MC before BWL comes out? Blah 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 blah. But I mean, realistically, if you go to heat level 2 or heat level 3 and you find that, this is going to take us a month to clear, but you're having no problems with heat level 1, Would you be okay with that, or do you want to be able to just push it over with your fire res gear on?
I'd like to push it with the fire resist gear on, because otherwise, we're pretty serious guild. Like I'll go back to ST, the pre Ranicus. We had close to 100 attempts on it before we downed it. And we killed it before pre nerf. And I mean, the feeling that we got after that was like great, because it was like we accomplished it, we got it down, and I think it was on a Saturday, and then they nerfed it on Monday, if I remember right. So it was like 2 days later. It was sort of demoralizing after that we were like, oh wow, like then it got nerfed, and then everyone else got it, because I think we were like one of the 3 guilds on the server to have downed it before it got nerfed. So my hope is, with the fire level 3, I would like it to be more difficult. I don't think I don't want 100 attempts on a boss, but I would like to see it go longer than running in there and downing it within like an hour or two. I'd like to progress on it for at least a few hours. If it takes more than a day, then that's fine as well. But I don't want to be sitting there, like a month. A month would be way too long.
Right. Well, this is just the sort of fun hypothetical. I don't have a dog in the race, but I'm just interested when I do talk to sort of more hardcore guilds, because you've got that point now that Rad Shami's bringing up in Discord, and I do wonder where people are at on this one. Is like, you've got 3 options there. Let's say, well, actually, is it 4 options? Is it like regular MC, then heat level 1, then 2, then 3? I don't know. Maybe heat level 1 is the regular MC. I'm not sure how it's going to work. But either way, it's like, do you want heat level 3? I mean, you've just answered this question, but just for everyone else as well. Do we want heat level 3 to be, as Radshami's saying, actually hard, near impossible, very punishing? That's the point of having the highest difficulty. Or do we want that to be like, no, heat level 3 just means like, if your whole guild has gone out and gotten all of their fire res gear, they'll be able to do this without too much of a headache. Like, it's kind of like, what do we want the hardest difficulty to actually mean?
Me personally, I want it to be more of the fire cap, like having the gear for it. As far as difficulty goes, I mean, I do want to see it like hit harder, have more health. I think like being as like hard and near impossible, it depends on your guild, because like the more serious guilds, like None of the Above, Noda, and like Welcome, they'll sit there and they'll go at it until the content's downed. And they'll spend hours and hours doing it. And I know, like, it's back to what Blizzard said with the pre-nerf Ranicus. I think like they nerfed Ranicus within like 12 hours. I think, like, I remember Noda was going till like 6 in the morning, and then there was a update that was pushed out where they have the health, and then Noda was actually able to down it. So I think like at that level that would be fine, where like maybe the top end guilds are able to down it within the first like 12 hours. But yeah, I don't know if I want to see it go back to like the original Aranicus.
I'll tell you my answer that you probably don't want to hear, Grant, but I'm in Rad's camp, where I'm like, I'm old school, I'm weird. I would love to see, it's cool because it's not content that's been designed that no one will ever see, like Nax back in the day. Everyone gets to see the content. It's just what difficulty you decide to dial it up to. And I would love to see a situation where heat level 3 means that like only the best 3 or 4 guilds in the world who are super coordinated can down this shit. And it becomes a weird like gamer challenge that like heat level 3 means fucking, this is serious business. No fucking, no average gamers here. You know what I mean? And with the gear, you just get more of it, obviously not better stuff. But then people do put the hypothetical out there and say, well, wouldn't that just mean that no one would attempt the content if it's too difficult? I'm not so sure. But like, even if they don't attempt it, that's okay. There will be the super sweaty nerds out there who are like, wouldn't it be cool if we were the first ones in the world to do that, and we were the only ones in the world to do that? Let's push ourselves as gamers and see if we can do this. And if no one ever does it, fine. But like, at least you still saw the content at heat level 2, and you didn't get punished gear-wise necessarily for not being able to do heat level 3. I like it if it's super hard, but I'm not doing it. So, fucking what do I care? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess my point is how many hours do me and the guild want to put into it? Do we want to sit there and go for like 40 hours of raid time together? That seems to actually end in more burnout, because like like ST, we lost a lot of our players after we dumped a ton of hours into progression, and then people start falling off after that. So it could go both ways. I mean, I also agree. I see your point of it being like the super hard, but I don't think Blizzard was going to do that. At least that was the understanding that I had based on the comments that they had out there.
You know how you solve that problem though, Grant, is that you're right. Like no guild wants to necessarily just do 40 hours of prog for no real reward, just to say, hey, we're gamers. Like some might, a lot won't. That's where Blizzard throws in the 50 grand heat level 3 challenge and goes like, all right, fucking now it's worth your while to try and prog it.
But what if the reward items are like more items for like the epic weapons? That would make it worth it.
True.
You're not changing the loot, but you're doing just what they said. You're adding more of it.
It'll be interesting. It'll be I'm really, really excited to see Molten Core. I mean, are you guys pumped, Grant? Like everyone, are you fucking excited to see what's in there?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it. I mean, we've been prepping for it. We're beyond excited. We're just, it's the unknown, It's like I've been talking to other guilds too, like Welcome, and they're expecting it to be super hard. That's like sort of our expectation. But we went into the world bosses thinking it was going to be super hard, or there was going to be new mechanics, and then everything was like the same as it was before. You were able to down with 10 people without world buffs. But I get that is supposed to be puggable. So I'm assuming level 1 will probably be easy. Like MC will probably be back to how it was, in original Classic, and I'm assuming level 3 will be harder. Just how harder, we don't know. It's either going to be like Rad was saying, almost impossible, or maybe it's just going to be dependent on how much fire resistance that your entire guild brings.
I think I've got we're talking about the difficulty of heat level 3. I've got I mean, it's not a unique take, but I played this game right when it first came out 20 years ago, so I got to experience all these raids in Classic from a blind prog point of view. There was no YouTube videos. There was no Wowhead. I mean, shit, you had a little bit of loot information on Thoughtbot. That was it. And it was talking to people other guild contacts you had who had downed it, trying to find out what they did. And the stuff wasn't hard. In fact, now we know it was really easy. It's just nobody knew what to do, and we were all bad players. But the feeling that we had back then of that blind prog and getting a boss down the first time, it was awesome, and it was a great feeling. I remember the first time our guild down Major Domo after like a month of progging it, and it was incredible. And for the last like 10 years, I've been trying to like replicate that feeling playing private servers of the relaunch in 2019, trying to get that feeling. So if we went in there and it was very hard, but it was just, a matter of progging, figuring out new mechanics, and coming up with strategies on the fly to be able to down it. I would think that was amazing. If they just kind of cheese out and it's just like every boss has Rage of Ragnaros level 3 and has a fire aura that does this much damage, that would be a little bit of a letdown. I don't think I would want it to be impossibly hard, but I would like it if they did something that created a fresh progression atmosphere. That being said, even in that vein, like I don't want something like Heroic Lich King where it's a matter of can your guild do a 10-minute DDR simulation perfectly without anybody dying. I'm not interested in that, but it would be really nice to see some hard new mechanics and new designs for the bosses that we actually have to work through.
The only reason I say this, and Zeus, thanks so much for joining. I brought you in because I wanted to actually address something you brought up just now in Discord chat, and which piggybacks off what Uncle Creepy was just saying. I do, people do get a bit of flack, and I get a bit of flack whenever we talk about this kind of hairy topic about difficulty in the game. We covered this a lot during the Sunken Temple first couple of weeks, and the community's very much so had their say on Season of Discovery and the Classic franchise in general, saying like much of what people are saying. Classic is not the place for challenges. Leave that to retail. If you want a challenge, go play that version of the game. Let's leave this as a bit of a pushover, and that's fine. I get that. I guess what I'm saying is here with these Molten Core heat levels, I just think it's opened the door for a little bit of a tweak in that argument where the easy content very much so still exists, and it's not different items that are dropping at the harder difficulty levels. They've just gone more of them. So I'm just of the opinion that like it's kind of fun and cool again to introduce a tough gamer challenge for those guilds that want it, as opposed to making it feel mandatory. Like, and Zeus, this is what I was going to say though. You mentioned that I agree with you. Like, you don't want to necessarily in 2024 design game content that fucking no one sees. If you're making stuff specifically for the top 1% that nobody else sees, then what was the fucking point of that? I agree. But I just think that this is a little bit different because they haven't made new stuff. It's just a matter of adjusting numbers for that hardest difficulty level. It's kind of like why Nightmare Mode exists in fucking, you know, Doom or Bloodborne or whatever the fuck game you're playing, you know, just jack it up to the hardest. Yeah, it goes there. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, it's almost like Mythic Plus, where you have the different keys, where literally it's just the damage and the health were increased in the early versions of Mythic Plus, at least.
Right. Whereas back in the
day,
you could argue that Nax was designed in 2005 for the top 1%, which was weird, and that's why it was obviously brought back in Wrath. We had many hours of dev time put towards something that nobody fucking saw, and that is weird. But I don't think this is that instance.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on how the heat levels work. Like if it's new mechanics and you're like designing encounters around that, then I just frankly think it's a waste of time and not something that you would want to do if only 1% of the player base is going to see.
Oh no, I agree. But my argument though, ZS, is I'm being hyperbolic, but if it's 5 minutes worth of dev time and they change a couple of numbers and it's just, oh, these bosses just hit harder on heat level 3, then that's a bit easier.
Yeah. I would agree with that. If it's just like, okay, they just hit harder, they have more health, and it takes you longer to do it, then yeah, sure, go for it. But I don't know. We'll have to see what they do, but I don't think that's what it's going to be, because they have a tendency of like wanting to add mechanics. That's what they did with Mythic Plus, for example. Like you have like the different affixes, and I think that they're going to change the actual mechanics of the bosses to make it more difficulty to justify dropping more loot for people. But that's just my thoughts on it.
Fair enough.
Is anyone here? I was saying, is there anyone here that did Season of Mastery? Because I know myself, I didn't at the time.
I didn't raid. I got a character to 60, but I didn't raid.
To everything I've heard, is new mechanics coming from that.
Well, we don't know.
I didn't actually raid or anything, but I did actually watch a lot of Season of Mastery stuff, kind of after the fact, and I am all for the best version of the season is going to be each season is going to add all the stuff from the previous season, and it just keeps like kind of snowballing on that. If in an ideal world for me, so I think bringing all the Season of Mastery changes is kind of a no-brainer for Blizzard, because it gives you no dev time and you just have to adjust for a 20-man raid instead of the 40-man.
If I had to guess, I think they'll do half of the SOM changes, keep the ones they liked, and maybe tweak others or introduce new ones for the other half. I'm not personally expecting a copy-paste job from SOM MC. I don't know, something tells me Tim will want to have more fun with it than that. Like, there's a bit more to it than just like, we're short on... Yeah.
But they do give that they can take all those changes that they did, and like the ones that are good and fun, they can bring those over and they can add and tweak to those, and they have like a base to go off of instead of starting from scratch like they did with Season of Mastery, which I think is going to make a better experience for all of us.
Across my 2 raid groups that I run with, we've got 37, 38 people that are like there every day. I think 2 of them did SOM. So for 95% of the guild, like it's all fresh. Like we know there's good new content coming. Looking at the new dungeon, like that was so much fresh content, and I see comparison to the 2019 MC, there's going to be a lot to relearn, I guess. Bad habits to break.
Just before I move on to the next topic, guys, I'll just say this while we're talking about rating. Who here would bet money on or is expecting a new raid in SoD at some stage outside of a new dungeon?
If they don't have a new raid in SoD, I would be shocked. I think the top one that I can think of is a Karazhan Crypts raid. I think because they hinted it too. If they don't add that, I would be shocked, honestly.
My guess is the Karazhan. I don't know. I think the Karazhan Crypts thing is going to be like a new dungeon in like the BWL phase or some shit. I don't think it's going to be a raid, but I base that on nothing. That's just a guess. I would like a new raid, but I don't know if I'd bet on us getting one. But I'm interested to hear if you guys do. So anyone else on the new raid concept?
I mean, I if you had asked me at the start of SOD with the popularity of it, I would have thought it was out of the question that they wouldn't have a new dungeon. Not having something like a Tears Hand raid or a Scarlet Crusade raid would have been a gigantic missed opportunity. But now, just kind of seeing how they've managed things and how they've handled the progression, they could have changed the name this to Season of Missed Opportunities, to be honest. So it wouldn't surprise me now, I don't think.
I agree with you on the Tears Hand thing. Like I have hope, like Rad Shami's saying, for some kind of Scarlet based raid. I think that that would be fantastic. Weaving that in with like lore wise, putting a rewrite and weaving that in with like Nax or something, like go do something with the Scarlet Crusade and then go to Nax or something. That'd be fucking sick in my opinion. But you other guys,
quietly hoping for 2. I see the SM1 coming, and I see it. That's how we get access to Ashbringer. That's been data mined. And the other one I'm looking at, because of the way that they've upgraded the recipes and such, is something linked to the Timbermore, with the Demonfall Canyon linking to the corruption of demons. And we know there's something in the jar. We know whatever's behind that fucking gate. If it's linked to Mount Hyjal or how they bring it all in, there's a lot of opportunity. And even back in the day, they always said that was something that wasn't the cards. Don't know how much has been developed, but there's a lot of potential.
Very good.
I mean, they kind of surprised us. They surprised us with the new dungeon this phase too. So like them coming out of nowhere with a dungeon or a raid wouldn't be surprising. Just to reference back to the Karazhan Crypts thing, I think that's more of like a 10-man raid. I don't mean more like I don't think it'll be a 20-man. Like it'll be like a ZG sort of thing.
Right.
If that makes sense.
I can tell you they didn't surprise me with the new dungeon because like they had it on the slideshow at BlizzCon and they still hadn't paid up on the new dungeon content that they put as part of their promotional material. So I was very much so ready for that to be announced, and then I'm glad we got it. I've got to do the fucking thing now. But guys, I just want to say also, before I forgot, that new dungeon, have you guys, Mandalore, have you seen that fucking 2-hander that drops from the new dungeon of the 2% drop rate?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It is insane.
The first start of my thing said it only lasted an hour, so I was expecting something like Tempest Keep. When you have the legendary weapons, you got to use that to defeat the boss. And then when I saw the first person with it, I'm like, oh, that's wild.
I want that 2-hander so badly on my hunter. Oh my god.
The bringing that lore in around the bloody fuck, what's his name? Mental blank. The Pit Lord's buddy Glaive, like being the fucking spear tip that Grom cut off. Like,
yeah.
There's just so much there that they can just dive straight on in now.
For sure. Guys, let's talk about Black Rock Mountain really quick. Look, we had an emergency podcast last week on the show. You heard Fred and the guys dissect the Black Rock Mountain event and talk about all our gripes with it. Some changes were rolled out about 48 hours ago where now they have brought in the Blood Moon event style res with the sprint and the I don't think like whether it's like you're worth no honor or are you invisible? I'm not sure. I haven't figured it out, but it's I just want to say my piece about this, and I was screaming about this on stream earlier, and I want to then get you guys involved once I've said this. Look, everyone's happy with the PvE side of the Black Rock Mountain event, and that's great. It's fun, new content, something to do. Go get your fire res gear. Great, I love it. The issues have been inside the mountain with the PvP. And again, this isn't some guy who wasn't built for PvP servers bitching about a PvP event. Go take your smooth brain fucking reactions elsewhere. If you saw me on stream earlier, like I was saying, PvPing for no fucking reward whatsoever, just for the love of the game outside Blackrock Mountain, literally getting no honor, but 1v1ing people because I fucking love it. Don't tell me I'm not built for a PvP server. I don't want to fucking hear that shit. The issues that they solved with this week's changes with the Blackrock Mountain event, as soon as I read them, I said one thing, and I go, that really helps all the people who are trying to run dungeons. So that's great. All the people bitching about this takes so long to get to BRDs, takes so long to get into fucking LBRS, whatever it is. Great, wonderful. They don't want to take part in the event. They're not into it. They went to the dungeon at the wrong time, and they can still get in with their group in a relatively timely fashion. That's wonderful. I'm glad that you helped them out. The problem is the solution didn't fix the event for those actually taking part in the event. Now you say, but Josh, you can sprint now and you can fucking, get set up again and everything. Cool. The problem is the res timer. It's such a huge problem, and I'm yet to hear the big brain designer take on this is why you have to have a 2-minute res timer for this Blackrock Mountain PvP event. If it's out there, please enlighten me. I am all ears. I'm ready to be persuaded. But it is my brutish opinion that the 2-minute timer cannot go hand in hand with this event. You cannot, in any way, shape, or form, encourage people to the mountain to take part in mass PvP and have them on the third death meet the 2-minute res timer and then deal with that for the rest of the event over the next hour. Not even getting on to the tangential issue of res timers in the game in general, just this PvP event. It is beyond a joke to me that 8 days into this phase, this res timer is still here with this event. I did one earlier today. I said, all right, I guess I'll go into the mountain and do the event. I died twice. On the third, I met the 2-minute res timer, and I half straight out there. I said, I am not doing this event. I'm not doing it. I've played this game before. I'm not doing it. I'm not spending the next hour being 30 minutes of which is me dead watching people waiting for a 2-minute res timer to pop back up. It is ridiculous that we stop people from playing the game, but invite them in anyway and then punish them for doing so. I'm rather filthy about this one, guys, but I'm happy to be told that I'm being irrational. Josh, you're a fool. It needs to be there, whatever. Guys, were you happy with the changes that they brought into the BRM event? Do you think it's enough? Do you think we need more? Please go nuts.
Can I chime in here first? I have a question. So I guess I missed it, but you said that you can quickly res now, similar to STV.
Yeah, so now you've got to sprint, and I'm not sure if I was invisible or not. I couldn't tell.
So you can sprint to your corpse to wait faster?
Yes.
Or is it after
No,
res?
you can sprint to your corpse to wait faster.
Okay. LOL. That's what I thought.
Haven't been there since the changes rolled out. It took us 34 minutes to reset our lowers the other day when we were trying to farm some more upper keys. Because the Alliance would sit outside with 87 fucking traps, or what it fucking felt like. So as soon as you zoned out, you just got fucking stuck.
No, wait,
and
so
that's it. And then the timer started from there. So you sat there twiddling your thumbs and went up free manning the first half, waiting for the last two people to get back in, because unfortunately they weren't classes who had a CD that they could pop straight away after the 2 minute ran out, that they could help get inside.
Right. Sorry, I think I fucked this up, Leroy. I just go back to that. Actually, I fucking forget already. I'm so bad. I don't think you sprint as a ghost. I think you sprint once you res.
Once you res.
You do also move faster as a ghost now.
Oh, you do? Okay, so you move faster as a ghost.
So it's both sides of the coin.
Right.
Yes, you move faster as a ghost, you res, and you're invisible for 14 seconds with fast movement speed as well.
Right.
I would like to believe that it's a matter of maybe it has to be rolled out in phases to make sure it works. That's me being optimistic about it, okay, let's make sure we get the speed aspect down, and then on the next patch, we eliminate the res timer. Fingers crossed. I don't know.
My whole thing, I was screaming again on stream about this, is going I am happy to you know, do the Aragorn move and run as one man into a wall of alliance. I don't give a fuck. Death doesn't perturb me, whatever. BG it. I don't care. It's the waiting that kills me. And like I said, and the fact that it doesn't take very long to hit that 2-minute fucking timer. Alliance, you know, it depends again on what layer you're on. Some people are saying Horde dominates. Some people are saying Alliance dominates on my server. I've seen probably like a little bit more Alliance domination than Horde domination, but like I don't care that they dominate. I just want to be able to fight them and not be told, no, sit on the sidelines for a while, kid, you're shit and you've died too much. Well, it's hard not to die when there's that many of them. But anyway, look, it's just...
I even think, like, without removing the res timer, just like a quick limited time of immunity after res, just so you can at least move.
Well, I think they've got that
when
now.
When they have that wall,
I think that's what they've got
the
now.
other faction, you can't even go anywhere.
Well, they've got that now, I think. So that's what I'm saying. It feels like STV, but the problem is...
Okay, heard.
Remind me, guys, STV, I'm pretty sure you didn't deal with this issue, right, with the 2-minute res timer.
No, because the STV event had the resers like you would have in any other battleground.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, this is something that I would love to take Blizzard to task for, because I am one of those people that loves PvP, you know, in 2019 Classic and in TBC and in Wrath, I had half a dozen 39 Twinks just to have other forms of PvP to do. I really love it. And I feel like in SoD, all their BG open world sort of things has said one thing to me, and that's show me that your devs don't actually play this game, because they've all been designed really, really, really poorly. And I think this one is maybe the worst one of them all, because historically, in any iteration of Classic WoW, you never have to do a single thing to incentivize PvP in Blackrock Mountain. It just happens there because that's where your first two major raids are, and the bulk of your, you know, half of your end game dungeons take place there. Definitely the most important one for your attunement. So PvP in Blackrock Mountain naturally just happens. You don't have to give a 300 honor incentive to it. So just having that event here in itself is a colossal blunder, because you've made the first 2 weeks before this change got implemented misery for everybody trying to run dungeons. Now, going into SoD, how many times have you heard about the planned PvP event in Ashara, you know, originally in Classic? I know I had every expectation that a max level PvP event would be whatever this, you know, PvP event was in Shara that was planned back in the day. And if you had taken this exact same event, fixed the res timer issue, and just put it in Ashara, where there's no major questing, there's no major dungeons, it's basically a wide open zone for nothing almost, but you would still maintain the 300% honor gain, it would have been like Field of Dreams with the baseball field. They'll still come PvP there, but it wouldn't be ruining this endgame experience for everybody. They could have left everything the same and just put it elsewhere and fixed the res timer with proper res BG. And it would have been a great event. They could have actually hit their first home run, but they didn't.
Go, Leroy.
29
Leroy, then
the one thing I've noticed about the event in BRM, because you made the point of, like, you know, why would they put it here? There's already so much going on. The one thing I've noticed is world PvP is like essentially contained to that zone. So like if you're questing in any other zone other than Searing Gorge,
nobody's doing it.
There is no open world PvP at all.
Nobody touches anyone. I'm the only cunt being a weirdo fighting people in Winter Spring.
Intended side effect, like if they were trying to do that, I don't know. That's what I've noticed.
I agree. I feel like people are very confused when I'm in Winter Spring and I try to fight them.
You're 100% right, but I just think it's the location. I mean, like I said, if you offered 300 honor for the same event, but the same exact event was in a Charlotte, everybody would just go PvP there. But
it makes me wonder if that was like experience. Makes me wonder if that was like a calculated choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say there's zero shot anything Blizzard did was calculated.
Would have just loved to have been a fly on the wall there for that one, you know.
Creepy, let me pitch. These are my two suggestions for PvP events that sadly fell on deaf ears prior to the creation of Season of Discovery. I threw these out on Twitter about a year and a half ago, where I said, firstly, I would have loved to have seen, while we're just, fuck it, while we're creating PvP events, this is what I would have done. Not to say it would have been better or worse, but this is what I would have done. I wanted you could argue that they did this with Plunderstorm anyway, but I'd said this a year before Plunderstorm came out. I wanted a Fortnite-style STV event where I said you queue up, you go to an instanced STV, you fly in on the Zeppelin, you jump off, you parachute in a la Fortnite. It's a battle royale, 100 players, whatever it might be, every man for himself. Stealth on druids and rogues is nerfed so that you can't just sit in stealth the whole time. Figure out however you nerf it, you just do that. And then it's just the area gets smaller and smaller over time. You all get pushed into the center and it's last man standing wins. They wound up doing that with Plunderstorm. And like I said, I sent that tweet out about a year before Plunderstorm, so pay me my money, Blizzard. But anyway, that's something I would have loved to have seen. Outside of that, my big suggestion was I would have loved to have seen, again, go to an instance version of the STV arena. There's a ring of cages around the arena there, right, where you get the chest in the middle normally. And now there's, I don't know, seven cages, 14 people get thrown in, 7 1v1s, and if you win your 1v1 in your cage, you progress from the outer ring to one ring further in for the next 1v1, and it's just basically you got to win like 3 or 4 1v1s to be the arena champion, and you get the chest in the middle. You know what I mean? That was my other idea for a PvP event, but obviously they're a bit wild and wacky. Some people might think that will work or won't work, but that's the kind of shit I wanted to see as opposed to what we got.
You should be hired as the PvP
the
creator,
the consigliere for PvP, please.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a good idea.
To give Blizzard an ounce of credit or cut them a little bit of slack, I get they're trying to do a lot with a little. They don't have much for a dev team. They don't have a lot of hours to devote to it. So a lot of what goes into this, I'm sure, is what they can do that looks good with minimal dev time. And I think if they did anything like what you just suggested, oh my god, I think that would have been fantastic. Because there is a lot of people that play this game just for PvP, and something like that would have been amazing.
Well, they got super caught up with mass scale world PvP, which, don't get me wrong, I get that that's entwined into the DNA of WoW Classic, and it is fun at times. But when you build an event around it, it can get problematic.
Yeah, I mean, Blizzard servers historically handle it very poorly. They've handled the Blackrock Mountain event better than any of the other ones.
Yeah, very well.
But it's if you were going to do something that was going to just like really get people excited about it with very minimal effort, I mean, if you want to do big open world, I mean, why wouldn't you do something that was Terran Mill and South Shore? Because that was
exactly
always
where I was going.
Yeah, go for
that
it.
was the historic
just make an
thing.
instance version of that.
100%.
It's in the game already in Raidfall. You can do that as an event. 40v40. I had a lot of fun in Phase 1, Phase 2, fighting down there in World PvP. The content's made. They've literally just got to port it in. Like that's a quick option. Fucking crack on.
The Terran Mill v South Shore Battleground would have been unfucking real.
They just need to pay a couple people who actually play the game to be consultants to just say no, don't do that.
To be fair, we say that a lot. They play the game. They play the game. They've whiffed on the PvP side of things a little bit.
Well, and doing a South Shore Terran Mill would have been so easy because they already have the time cavern walkthrough, whatever instance. So they could have just like made that into a battleground and just said, okay, well, I don't know, kill each other until you get 200 kills or something. I don't know.
All right, guys, look, we'll wrap it up on that one. That's sort of the BRM rant, unless anything else they really need to say on that one. The next point will be, I think we'll probably start to veer towards class-related stuff, if that's okay. I would love to hear from all of you guys on how you're feeling driving your classes or your alts, whatever you might be playing right now. I just want to say, like, you know, we obviously weaved in a fair bit of scathing criticism right there for the Classic team in regards to the Blackrock Mountain event. But then when we turn this page to the classes, my attitude completely changes, because I'm seeing, look, guys, I'm seeing a lot of this kind of chatter around, and it's very positive about the SoD classes right now in P4. Now, I understand, again, like any version of WoW, there will be a few outliers. There'll be a few specs, one class that's really like just, oh man, we didn't get the kiss on the dick. You know what I mean? People are saying warriors are in a bad spot. You know, I get that not everything's perfect right now, but having said that, fuck me, the majority of it is. I feel like everything feels like a Ferrari right now. But I'm happy to hear from you guys. I'll gush about my Malay Hunter a little bit. I've already done a little bit last week on the show. I'll do it some more after this. But Grant, if I can turn to you, mate, to start us off, tell us what class you're playing and if you're happy or not happy with it in P4.
So I'm playing Shaman Tank.
Oh
and
my
I've
God.
been extremely happy with it.
You guys are fucking destroying it.
Yeah, the damage output is insane in dungeons. On the world bosses, I was actually deep diving logs last night to see how the mitigation was of a shaman, because I was concerned, you know, with it being a male user. I compared it to like a druid tank, compared it to a warlock tank, and I have to say, like, the mitigation was right there, is actually a little bit better than them. But that's because I think I was going off my logs, which were I was wearing very heavy mitigation because I didn't know what to expect out of the world bosses and all that. But no, I've been super happy with it. I mean, you can play Shaman Tank as an enhanced spec, you can play as an LE spec. Both of them sim or doing about the same damage, same threat. So I think Blizzard really, you know, if you want to play that melee shaman as a tank, or if you want to play that caster, like almost like a battle mage, type of a tank, you know, you can play it, and I think they've done really well with that. I have no complaints.
Mate, every dungeon I go to, like, shaman tanks are relatively prevalent, and every time on top of the meters, that burn doing its thing, you know, it's fucking crazy. They are number one, and not even, there's a country mile between number one and number two. Like, I stare at it every time and go, if I was playing a shaman tank, I would be very, very happy, because not only do I have the survivability, I'm a good tank and I'm pumping.
Yep, exactly. No, the damage output is unreal in dungeons. Single target bosses, it's where it should be from a tank perspective. It's towards the bottom on single target, which is exactly like how tanks should be. I don't think tanks should be, you know, your top damage as well on single target. So I don't know. I can't say anything negative about Shaman Tank right now.
All right. You got any alts running, or you just been focusing on the shaman?
Been focusing on that. I'm actually going to do, I think, Hunter next. Hunter or Druid, one of those two.
I think everyone wants to do a Hunter now that they've been exposed as the flavor of the month with how hard they're hitting.
Yep.
Oh, dear.
Blasting.
All right, let's move right along. Mandalore, mate, how's the Warlock going?
Warlock tank, loving it.
People are really happy.
Yeah. I keep getting comments. I pug a little bit, but mainly do guild runs. Every now and then we got to pick up a healer and stuff, and getting comments like, "You're brilliant to heal. Like, there's no issues. There's no spike." I don't care about doing the DPS side of things, so I'm just all full mitigation and keeping fret. It's not a problem. I think I can get up about like 75% damage reduction at the moment, and it's disgusting. Like, it's so much fun. I make warriors and rogues just cry. It's brilliant. I'm in Outret Valley at the moment. Yeah, jump in meta form. The damage reduction is awesome, and then the introduction of the infernal armor, having that damage reduction go to magic for 10 seconds as well. I don't feel like I'm wasting my time if I go up against a mage or a boomy. Like, it's that 10-second window. If I can get it, awesome. I'm fucking grateful I'm not going up against Shamans though, because I was dueling a couple of guildies last night before we did the world bosses, and one of the Ellie Shams just fucking opened with a purge straight away. I'm like, cool. But this is real. But no, it's in a good place. I think the changes that they made with the immolation aura, so it's not just AoE pulsing out and is when you get hit, is a nice little change. It's very similar to what they did with the Shami's Lightning Shield last phase before it got nerfed. But the damage is small, but the threat just builds up. So my AoE threat feels really comfortable now. I'm solo tanking uppers for my guild, and it just like I just roll in.
How's the gameplay though? Like in terms of button pressing, is it fun? Because that was the one thing I slammed Warlock Tank on in phase 1, 2, whatever. Like that just wasn't fun. Is it fun now?
It's filling out. It's definitely filling out, and I think once we get access to the MC tier 1, 20% chance on your Shadow Cleave to get an instant cast Soulfire. Like you're going to start seeing big numbers, which we don't normally see. Like it's I think sort of biggest crits I sort of see with Searing Pains like 1100, 1200, but getting a 20% chance to throw out a Soulfire that costs no regent, cool. Like we'll actually start feeling like I guess what Shamans see with the big fucking meters going off the absolute heads. Yeah, no, it's good, and you're not pigeonholed into just one tanking build. I think currently there's about 7 or 8 really competitive.
Oh, that's awesome.
builds.
So it's do what you like.
Pretty much, yeah. Like you can go Affliction, Demonology, or Destro, or a mix across, and there's little plays on each way, depending on if you want to try and push for Nightfall and Shadow Cleaves, or if you want to go full Emberstorm and go more for the Searing Pain single target build. You're going to have a lot of variety, which is nice. I'm running 2 completely different builds for my 2 specs.
Oh,
and
man.
I,
You're
yeah,
selling
it's-
me.
it's
You're
good.
selling me. Now I want to play Warlock Tank. I love it. That's good to hear, mate. Creepy. Actually, no, we'll leave you for last, Creepy, because you're going to talk about hunters. So let's go to Vestige, mate, with the Paladin, right?
Yeah, playing Rep Paladin, it's so freaking fun. Oh my god.
Talk to me.
It's everything I've ever dreamed. It's everything I've ever wanted. I'm just so happy with where we're at.
Why?
We can keep up with DPS with anything out there right now. We have the toolkit to handle anything. If I'm dealing in PvP and I'm getting kited, I can just throw a Blessing of Freedom, Divine Steed right into their face and keep fighting. On PvE, it looks like we might have 2 legitimate kind of styles of play for DPS. We don't have to. One's more of around fast weapons and trying to get as much exorcism procs as we can. The other option is more of a slow seal twist build. So even within DPS, we have 2 looks like legitimate options. We'll see what happens once we start actually parsing and kind of seeing how the numbers fall out. But it just feels good. Everything, the rotation feels good. It feels tight. It feels like I got enough buttons to press. It feels like I have enough AoE damage. I have enough single target damage. It just feels good. And it's one of those things where it's kind of hard to quantify that. But it's just like, you can go in there and you can feel like you can do something in almost any situation.
And to be honest with you, I know it seems like, a rather generalized thing to say, but I agree with you. Like, a lot of these specs just feel good. Like it feels. I was killing stuff on my Malay Hunter a couple of days ago. Dinged 60 2 days ago, and I've just been sort of mucking around. I'm like, now that I'm 60, I'm just sitting there going like, it's never been more fun just to kill random mobs. Like I'll just drive by and just kill a mob for no reason because it feels good pressing these buttons. And, that's how like a vanilla warrior feels or whatever. Like that's a sign of a good class when it's like, I'm just going to kill something because I like this rotation or I like pressing these buttons. And that's how maybe the Ret Paladin feels to you.
Yeah, 100%. Where it's like back in the day in vanilla when you played Paladin, I'm like, man, I don't want to really engage. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I get to kind of have fun. I get to play DPS. I get to legitimately make a difference. And I feel like I have everything in the toolkit to do that. And I'm just excited to see where that's going to lead.
Mate, have you mucked around with Prot and Holy at all to get some dungeons done?
Not yet. I've pretty much just been doing just red. I've been building up my proc gear. I did holy back in vanilla, and I promised to never do that again. So I'm not even touching that spec.
It's funny because holy looks really fun now in SoD. I keep staring at it as a healer aficionado, going like, "Oh, I would love to try that."
Yeah, I've almost broken that promise a couple times, but I was like, no, I promised I would never heal again on a paladin, so I'm not going to
Okay.
after vanilla. But no, I've done a little bit of prop, and not yet in phase 4. But I've been running with prop paladins too, and they look like they're having a great time.
Right.
They're holding everything, and it's just like I said, like it just feels good, and it's so hard to like say, oh, what makes it feel good? It's like, well, it feels good, feels fun.
Before we get to you, Leroy, apparently we're getting some breaking news. Season of Discovery Elixir achievements will now be bind on account. Is that right? Are people seeing this?
Yep. Correct.
God, I hope so.
It's the right move, isn't it?
Wow, that's
Definitely.
great.
Definitely.
So, I heard this morning that apparently the warrior shout world buff is you achieve that from completing the Elixir quest chain.
Oh, really?
So,
oh, wait, no. The warrior poverty world buff is out too. Does that mean they got rid of it?
Yep.
It's gone.
So,
No, it's available.
no, it's available.
Oh.
So as soon as you finish the quest chain for the Elixir achievement,
Oh,
you
it's
gain
out.
or you gain
Oh, I
access
see
to
what
it.
you mean. It's out as in it's been released. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah, no one really knew, but last day or so, people getting the achievements finished, and you start seeing a lot more warriors getting around with it.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I just think, again, talk about taking easy wins. Making that bind on account is just a layup of a decision for me. Grant, you seem to agree.
No, I agree. Yeah, I like that idea. It reduces the time if you're going to level an alt, because I mean, this is a seasonal game, so it's not meant to be, a
I
long
was
season.
just about to say that this is super alt friendly again. Yep.
No, I think that was a good decision by them, because I was dreading having to do all the attunements on my 8 other alts that I was planning to level to 60. So
very
Now
good.
we just get those low level runes.
Oh, there's some of them are so bad. We were talking about this yesterday. Let's go down this tangent for 2 minutes. Like, we'll sit here and praise them for this lovely alt-friendly move, but I will slam them for, like, there are low-level runes that you need other people for that are not working right now. Like, little things like the Frozen Makura, the low-level pre-shit. Like, it's just a nightmare to involve other players. Like, because now it's kind of like unfair. It was fun when there were 1 million people playing, but now it's like a nerf to your class, or unfair if like you have to get a key rune, but like other classes get their runes so easily, and you get, like, you're a priest, you have to fucking go get your meditations, or like you're a warlock that wants chaos bolt. Oh shit, there's no one leveling, so I can't melt down that Makura. It's kind of fucked, and I'm really shocked it hasn't been addressed yet.
Yeah, I really think it's kind of funny how we were talking about how it started out as being so alt friendly, and then now it kind of feels not as alt friendly when you're leveling up brand new, or if you're leveling up a brand new character. I mean, I've stared at the start screen trying to think, like, maybe I want to roll another character, and I'm thinking, well, damn, do I really want to spend 20 more hours on top of everything else just collecting all the runes?
Yeah.
I'm like, not really. I don't really want to do that. So if there was a way where it said, hey, okay, everything phase 2 or 3 below or whatever, just go get them from a vendor if you want them. You can still do them, or you can go get them from a vendor.
Or like use the Undermine Real tarnished coins or whatever to, like,
oh, there you go,
buy one for buying on account a rune for your alt or something.
Yeah, one coin for one rune or something that you can send to a fucking alt.
If it's a harder rune, maybe more coins, exactly, and then you can just trade it to your alt or something.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, phase 1's are 1 real, phase 2 or 2 reals or something like that, and then it's buying on account, so you just mail it to your alt, and then boom, you can just run some dungeons on your main and trick out your alt with all the runes that they need.
And now you're still rewarding playtime on a main character.
Yeah,
and you're keeping the world alive.
Yeah, and it's funny.
Trying to get dispersion.
Yeah. It's funny though, if anyone's like bent out of shape hearing that and going like, oh, but the whole point was discovery, cunts. Fucking there goes Season of Discovery. I'm kind of like, but we discovered it. You know what I mean? And like, fucking, I don't know.
Then do the whole quest chain if you want. You
Yeah,
know?
Yeah, we've already discovered. Now we got to Christopher Columbus it. And
Yeah.
just like say we did it. Okay.
time is running out on this seasonal server. You know what I mean? Like, and I am still playing on alts, and some of these runes absolutely still take an hour to get, and it is fucking tedious. Anyway, I think that's.
The,
Well, you
Yeah,
couldn't even
suggestion.
get your priest ones on that other server, right? Because you couldn't get all the meditations.
That's right. Yeah. I've been struggling on priests, but you know, the other day, and also like you got to remember because no one's leveling. All the level 60 priests don't have their meditations. You know what I mean? So you can't people go, go to town.
Mm-hmm.
Mate, I spent fucking 10 minutes in Orgrimmar the other day targeting every priest running by me. Fucking no one had their meditations because they're all level 60. I don't give a fuck anymore.
Oh, exactly, man. I've got
Yeah, I
ults
didn't
at
know.
25 locked that I'm not even touching because I don't want to do all that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know if they dropped it all for the Phase 4, if any of the new Phase 4 ones required it, but I was thinking about them. Like, if they don't require those in future phases, people aren't going to do it.
It's just it's kind of like when you do runes on classes that don't need other people, you get very like, I don't know, I feel funny about then the 2 or 3 classes that really have to have people help out. But anyway, guys,
Maybe those are the ones that you can buy.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think they will do something soon. I think it should be done now rather than later. Guys, what have we not covered today that we really need to cover? Any other things you've seen in the game in Phase 4 so far that you'd love to talk about, or have we pretty much covered it all? Oh, creepy. We haven't done hunters. Oh, and Leroy. Sorry, we haven't done your class. Sorry, Leroy, what do you play?
Oh, I'll be quick. I'm a pally tank. So,
okay. Very good. Tell us.
Yeah, Vestige hit a lot of the high points. Pally does feel good. I've been a pally tank since Phase 1, and I feel like they've hit the nail right on the head for pretty much everything. So I'm just excited to hit MC with it, really.
So in terms of like threat and everything, are you on board with all the changes they've made with like group threat being no problem now? And are you cruising?
Oh, yeah. I feel like I've never really had an issue with threat, just with the multitude of options that Paladin has. Like, they really do have so many choices, and like my hotbar is constantly changing with just whatever I'm happen to be in that group, you know. So
has it been fun having a pally tank viable in a vanilla world as compared to what it's like in you know, obviously like a classic era server?
Well, yeah, I played Paladin in classic, so you know, not wearing the dress is obviously cool. And I said the same thing. It's like, if I have the chance, I'm absolutely not healing. And as soon as I heard that we have a taunt, I was like, okay, I'm all in on pally tank, and the rest was rock and roll history. And I feel like they've done a really, really good job and a really good just a justice to paladins with honestly just the taunt, but everything else that they've done and the AoE capabilities that they have, and it's right there with warlock too. I was in the guild that I'm in. It's like me and the warlock tank are always fighting on who's better, but it's been good.
Very good. All right, Creepy, let's do hunters. I believe you're ranged. I'm Malay. You kick us off, mate. How's it feeling in P4?
Yeah, I mean, boy, it feels great. Last time I was on your show, I gushed about Hunter, and if I recall correctly, I may have made a statement along the lines of, just don't do anything else to Hunter. Leave it exactly the way it is. It's perfect. And I lied. Now it's perfect. Now don't touch it. Leave it alone. No nerfs needed here. Just let me keep playing the class as is, because it's fan-flipping-tastic.
Two big things that we do have to talk about that obviously Discord chat is bringing up that we would be remiss to sidestep. A big change coming in this week regarding Frost Trap and the trap launcher. That has now been removed from the trap launcher. They didn't like what was happening in AV and the BRM event with hunters just going nuts with the shooting the frost traps left, right, and center, and how that works with entrapment. Entrapment still does not have a DR. Tell me your thoughts on that change.
I would have. It's a tough one from a PvP's perspective. I 100% get it, and it makes total sense, because I mean, even before the trap launcher was the thing in classic WoW, You get into a Warsong Gulch with 3 entrapment hunters, and it's 8s. It's the most misery you'll ever experience in PvP. So I get that. I would have much rather seen them, instead of doing that, removing from the trap launcher. Instead of doing that, I would have much rather seen some sort of an entrapment DR, or even just a frost trap movement speed DR, so that way it becomes less toxic. Because while I recognize the need for the change in the PvP aspect, I don't like the change it's going to have on the PvE aspect. It's kind of fundamentally changing how we're playing the class. So I would have liked to have seen them put a little bit more thought into the change, but I get why a change had to be made for sure.
Mates, talk to me about the damage output of the ranged hunter right now, because I joked with this, at the top of the podcast with Grant about how everyone's going to fucking want to re-roll to the flavor of the month now that they see how much hunters are pumping. I'm not playing ranged. I haven't been sucked into the dark side of the force. I'm sticking with my Malay build. But mates, talk to us about how disgusting it is, and do you see a lot of people now wanting to be hunters?
I think you have to look at it through a little bit of a prism. So yes, through the leveling process and in dungeons specifically, the damage output is crazy. It's really crazy. But that's from a dungeon point of view. And when we get into MC, and we're not pulling 5, 6, 10 mobs at a time and just trapping and explosive shotting them, that damage total is going to come back down to earth in terms of a rating point of view quite a bit. That being said, I still think on single target, hunters are definitely going to be competitive for top of the meter DPS, but I don't think it's going to be like a runaway hunters are just smashing everybody on the meters. We ran 3 sets of groups through world bosses last night, and we got to see a couple of our groups actually use world buffs in full consumes, and we got to see some damage totals. And like in my group, me and the other really proficient hunter that were there were the top of the meter, but we weren't like crazy out of line with the warriors and the other group who popped their world buffs, or the rogues. The single target kind of boss damage profile, I think, is going to be not unreasonable. So I think everybody's huge eyes about the hunter damage has been really because what they've had to base that on is dungeons right now.
Fair enough.
So there might end up being some tuning that happens with it, but I think from a raid, a logs point of view, I don't think the hunter damage is crazy. I do think there's going to be a lot of flavor of the month people, but I think, in all honesty, I think there was a lot of people in phase 1, a lot of people who were on hunters for flavor of the month, and I don't think it's going to be so much people re-rolling as those people are coming back to their hunters.
Yeah, fair enough. Mate, I'll just ask, thanks so much for the sub, M Truck. You're a fucking legend. Thank you, mate. Mate, have you PvP'd much, Uncle Creepy? And have you felt that damage output that you've just discussed has felt oppressive in PvP or not?
Geez, I'm PvPing right now, actually. I think it's tough to say, because the litmuses you have right now are Blackrock Mountain and AV, and both of those are not really good. Are not really a real good judge.
No.
I don't think it feels like particularly oppressive, because it's good, but it's not like it's not out of line with everybody else. I don't think they've added enough retail-esque mechanics into the game that like everybody's got stuns, and most of the players have 41-yard range spells, and a bunch of people have force movement. Everybody's got a lot of really powerful things to be doing in PvP, and I don't think, aside from the entrapment issues, I don't think it feels particularly like Hunter is a big outlier, and certainly not too far out of whack from what it used to be in 2019.
All right, fair enough. Mate, have you tried Malay at all?
I did play around with it a little bit last phase. I could see how people wouldn't find it enjoyable. I'll give it that.
All right, let me talk about Melee for. Sorry, someone to jump in.
Oh, sorry, it's fucking in AV at the moment, and the group that was trying to kill Van wiped with 1k health left.
Oh,
Now,
very
everyone's
good.
Right back down the bottom.
Very good.
No.
Oh,
fucking
dude.
days.
Mate, let me just chat about Melee Hunter for a few minutes here, a couple of minutes. Look, guys, like I said, you heard me gushing about it last week on the podcast. I really just want to impress upon people, if for whatever reason, if you have access to try a Melee Hunter at max level, please do go and give it a go. It's really good what they've done with it now that it's complete. I really like it. I like the options that are at my hands as well, whether it's two-hander, you fucking want a dual wielding with beast, with pet, without pet, whatever it might be. It's all really fun. The only thing I'll say is like a little bit of a weird relationship with two-handers at the moment if you're a PvP player, just because like you've got to take Wyvern Strike as a two-hander. And I was explaining on stream before, like I'm just not 100% sure that I want a dot rolling on my target at all times using Wyvern Strike on cooldown, because like, you know, it's pretty much the only rune that's there for two-handers. And like now you're kind of ruling out Freezing Trap at any moment in time, whether it's an oh shit moment or if it's part of your planned attack against people. You just can't use Freezing Trap with Wyvern Strike. So if you're a two-hander and you're a PvPer, you're kind of in an odd spot. So that's personally why I dual wield, because now I don't have to rely on Wyvern Strike. I can just sit there with my dual wield specialization, not have a dot rolling on all my targets at all times, and just freezing trap whenever I fucking want. I'm running right now I'm running a 30-21 build. I don't take Wyvern Strike. Or Wyvern Shot, obviously, which then converts to Wyvern Strike. I just go 30 in survival, and then I duck over and take 21 in marks and take Scattershot. Scattershot's brilliant, even obviously for a Melee Hunter, getting that 4%, that 4 second fucking daze stun off or whatever is wonderful. Sort of stun, you know what I mean, disorient. I've been really having a good time with it, just with the very short amount of time that I've been PvPing on the Melee Hunter. And like I said, in PvE, it's for all intents and purposes, it's Wrath Enhanced Shaman. It is a priority-based system. The only small gripe again I've got is with regards to the rune. You know, for Melee Hunter, your back rune for Phase 4 is, I believe it's going to be the trap one, where traps cost less and they have their cooldown shortened, which is an odd one when you're using explosive and immolation trap, where it's like, the cooldown's shorter, but I don't need to use it again right now unless you're like constantly rolling explosive traps, I guess. But like, there's a lot of times on like a boss encounter, I've got my immolation trap up and it's off cooldown 9 seconds later. I don't want to immolation trap again right away, because also doesn't that rob me for a bit of DPS if I hit the trap just before the next tick was going to go off? And I don't know, now I'm waiting. Creepy, do you know how that works?
Say again, could you
so what I'm saying is it's a bit of a, no, you're right. It's a bit of an odd relationship with me and boss encounters and the new back rune regarding your traps, where they're cheaper and the cooldown is lower. And I'm like, I don't need a lower cooldown for my traps because I've got the dot rolling anyway.
Okay, so that would have been correct, but now with the scaling of now with your trap scaling,
yeah, is it all about explosive and just popping it off as often as possible?
It's all about explosive. I'm not even using the dot trap.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is, especially for you, your trap damage is scaling off melee attack power. So as a melee hunter, your explosive trap is hitting harder than all the traps.
So is immolation not good on a long boss encounter?
So from my understanding, immolation is valuable if the full duration of the dot is going to tick to its entirety.
Yeah, which it would on a boss.
Trap as soon as it does. But from my understanding with the Sims, if in that same period of time, if you had just been spamming explosive traps,
it's better, right?
You're probably at about the same damage, and if you get crits, you're at better damage.
Okay, yeah, that actually makes sense. All right, I'm doing it wrong. I got to fix that up.
Yeah, I had been toying around with it, and I actually have taken Immolation Trap totally off my bar, and I'm just using Explosive.
All right, noted. I will change things up. That's good to know. But yeah, look, outside of that, I really enjoy the priority rotation system with Melee Hunter. Like I said, I fell in love with Wrath Enhanced Shaman. I set up all my funky weak auras to have all my buttons pop up all the time in front of my character, so I know what's on the menu, so I can go, okay, I've got a Raptor Strike, a Carve, or an Explosive Trap that I could use right now. I'll use my Raptor Strike because I could potentially get 2 crits off of that. I'll now use my Explosive Trap because that hits pretty hard, and then I'll go with the Carve. Oh, now my Mongoose Bite is up. Well, I've got nothing else to hit. Fuck it, I'll hit my Mongoose Bite. Oh, now my Raptor Strike's back, and my Explosive Trap is up. Well, I'll go with my Raptor Strike because that always takes the #1 priority. Like, it's just fun. I just enjoy just sitting there with, like, not doing a prescribed rotation where it's button 1, button 2, button 3, now button 4, and then back to the beginning. I like having a bit of dynamics there and just having, well, you could hit one of 4 buttons right now and you choose your own adventure. I do quite enjoy that. Outside of that, guys, any other comments on any classes before we wind it up? Has anyone seen or heard anything from mages, priests, fucking anyone else, rogues, anyone else we haven't discussed that they want to comment on? Does anyone feel anything's too powerful or not powerful enough?
I do feel from the Alliance.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I'll say, I do feel from the Alliance perspective that shamans do feel weaker now. They don't feel like they're going to one-shot me every single time. So I will feel like they did,
right?
At least from my perspective, it looks like they did nerf them or something like that.
Even things up in,
reined them in.
Yeah, evened it up in Battlegrounds a little bit.
Yeah, so, but
that's good. Grant, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say Mage doesn't seem like it's very played right now, at least in our guild. And also, I was looking at other guilds on the higher end, and just Mage is sort of fallen off. I don't know if that's because fire was topping the meters before, and MC is fire. There's not a lot of fire damage that Mage can do. I think a lot of the mobs or bosses were immune to it. I don't know if that's going to be the case when MC comes out, because I heard that they might remove that so Warlock tanks can be more viable. But Mage is sort of fallen off from our side, so.
Very
in
good.
Probably the 30 dungeons I've done, I've not had a Mage healer or tank rogue.
Yeah, Mage healer fell off too. I haven't seen a Mage healer at all since I've been 16.
I never see them. North is still raving about his Mage healer. He thinks it is the absolute bee's knees. He sent me some very excited DMs just gushing over his Mage healer, but you never fucking see them around.
Don't think our guild's had a mage since phase 2.
I've still got mine ready to go.
Well, you gotta have somebody make the water.
I've got my level 50 mage ready to heal when the time is right.
My mate who main shaman, he parks his mage at Sonard, gives everyone water before the raid, then swaps across to shaman. We give him a few and then we crack on.
That's the way.
The state.
Boys,
mine sits in Kargath for ports.
Pretty much.
Boys, I might wind it up there and thank you all for your time. If I can ask one last favor of all of you, and this goes out to you guys in the crowd as well, whether or not you want to join in on this. I was hoping to do this I've got an interview coming up with Blizzard on the 30th of July. And one thing I've never done before that I thought might be cute to do is to actually play some listener questions to the guys and have them answer them in the moment. So if I could, take your time now. But if I could ask now, if you guys have try and keep it short, like 20 to 30 seconds, but do you guys have a question in regards to SoD right now that if you were sitting here and speaking to a Grand and Tim that you would ask of them? I'll let you think on it for a moment. I might actually wind up the podcast there and we'll stay on the line and I'll record these sort of off stream or off podcast stream. I'll sign off there and I'll chat with the guys. Thank you so much, guys. And for everyone listening on the podcast, if you get this, still DM me a question if you have one for the guys and I'll try and weave it in where I can. We're still working out whether I'm going to get 30 or 60 minutes with the Grand and Tim. I'd love to get 60 minutes, and if I do get 60 minutes, then I'll try and weave in a bunch of these questions. If we get 30, I'll have to be a bit more selective. But guys, thank you so much. And I'll just say our goodbye to the guys for now, even though I'll keep talking to you. Grant, thanks so much, mate. You're a legend.
Yeah, man, it's been great having me on. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's been great having me on. Vestige, thank you so much, mate.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Creepy, mate, you're the best.
I appreciate the opportunity to come on and say my piece again.
Absolutely. Thanks, mate. Thanks for joining in, Leroy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And Mandalore. Thanks, cunt.
Always a pleasure, mate.
Cheers, mate. All right, boys, I'll end the stream there. Thanks, stream. I'm just going to send you over to... let's have a look here. Bear with me, guys. Let's send you on over to... let's go to Subtle.